This morning, California rolling back reopenings as new coronavirus infections explode.
Bottom line is the spread of this virus continues at a rate that is particularly concerning.
70% of the state now under new restrictions. Restaurants, wineries, and movie theaters barred from indoor business, while every single beach in LA is shut down.
I know we're exhausted. I know that we let down our guard. I know some of us think that we're invincible. But this disease reminds us that we're not.
Up north, testing sites in the Bay Area overwhelmed. One location outside Oakland says even though they can do 500 tests per day, they had to start turning people away by noon. Doctors in the state say testing capacity isn't the only thing holding them back.
So today we found out that we didn't have as many swabs as we needed for the testing that we would need to do in the next 2 days.
With nearly 250,000 cases, California is among 4 states in the country seeing record jumps in daily infections. In Texas, ICUs are reaching their limits. Just this week, Parkland Hospital in Dallas opened a 3rd ICU ward to deal with the crisis.
Just worry that what's to come 2-3 weeks from now.
And the Pentagon now saying the military is struggling to stop the spread within their ranks, with the number of sick service members more than doubling in less than a month. Meanwhile, nurses in Miami say the virus is making people sicker than before.
Patients seem to be way more critical than the first wave.
And now, new reports of people trying to catch the virus on purpose. In Alabama, officials say college students are throwing COVID-19 parties to see who can get sick first.
To put money in a pot, whoever catch COVID first gets the pot.
The news we have gotten from around the country gets worse and worse all the time.
And just outside New York City, a cluster of at least 8 cases are linked to a house party, mainly young adults in their 20s. Some are facing $2,000 fines. New York's mayor now slamming the brakes on indoor dining. The decision comes as major businesses like Apple and McDonald's roll back reopening plans across the country.
Hey guys, what up? Total Control 871 chiming in with your next munition report. Okay, what did we see just there? They're talking about cases. That's what's been going on in the news. You're going to hear 2 words by Big Pharma sponsored corporate media as they continue to talk about COVID over the summer. Percentages and cases. Okay, you're not going to see them talk. Rarely will they ever mention an actual concrete number. I think in one hospital down in Texas, they claimed that there was something like a 600 increase in their COVID hospitalization. 600% increase. Hell, I mean, if I have $2 and I give you $1, I just gave you 50% of my money. Okay, doesn't mean that you have a whole bunch of money. You just have $1. You got $1, I got $1. So the 600 the 600 percentage, big flashy numbers. That's what I'm getting at. They just want to throw around a lot of big flashy numbers to scare you. It's all fear monger. And of course, we are always going to see, what was that? Was that, I don't even think it was 10 seconds of hospital footage. We heard them say that hospitals are being overrun. They then show us something like, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 seconds of portrait caption of a phone, and we saw it was the hospital itself that released the footage. Okay, that's fine, but the point is there a reason why you don't want to give us landscape? Open up the shot. Why are you cropping the shot? Okay, you can add your little blurs to people's faces all you want. You can blur faces, you can blur charts, you know. I'm not asking for intimate, personalized details like that. Why don't you show us this critically overrun hospital? One thing that they did show us that was overrun was the testing sites. They like to show lines and lines of cars at the testing sites, but then they want to completely refute the reality that the increase in our second word of the day, cases, has nothing at all to do with the increase in testing. Yes, it does. You are testing like crazy, so your cases are going to be shown like crazy. Just like the name of this channel, Cesium. If you were to go around testing wine left and right for cesium, is the wine positive for cesium? Of course it is. Okay? The bulk of our wines are produced in the post-atomic era, okay? It's why cesium tests are performed to authenticate wines, to prove that this is actually the real McCoy, the genuine pre-atomic testing wine that was produced and bottled. So cesium won't be in the wine. You are testing for something that has been around. We're beginning to see evidence as they slowly begin to admit this. Fauci with his 100,000 cases per day. Yeah, Fauci, believe it or not, I guess that's where we are going to agree. Tens of millions of Americans at this stage in the game, and it is a game. At this stage in the game, yeah, I guess tens of millions have come into contact with COVID. Okay? So yeah, I guess tens of millions will test positive. And another thing that they constantly don't want you to think too much about is the fact that these cases, second word of the day, the cases that test positive, the vast majority are not sick and will never get sick. If they are not sick and will never get sick, that's called immunity. Do you understand? Okay, I understand some people will, the pro-pandemic people will throw out, AIDS can be asymptomatic for X amount of time. Yeah, you're right. And left untreated, AIDS will eventually kill you in a couple of years as you spread your virus, you know. But for 99% of the population who will come into contact with COVID, they will forever remain asymptomatic. How long do you have to be asymptomatic without ever receiving any kind of treatment, you know, before you're ultimately deemed immune? You know, you're immune. And of course, the irony is that you have people out there who have tested positive, caught it again. We've heard reports where, okay, some people who are still testing positive, but because they've been quarantined for X amount of time, they're safe to release back out into society. And persons who have never tested positive for it must be quarantined or live under quarantine-like conditions. The lockdown, social distancing. It is for these reasons and so many more that the fake pandemic, you know, and of course, whenever our pro-pandemic people are cornered on so many of these facts, well, first thing they say is it's a badge of honor. We're learning so much. Well, as far as the whole learning curve argument of the pro-pandemic believers, if I'm not mistaken, Elon Musk, see if I can keep my camera straight. Elon Musk debuted his Cybertruck. Tell me something. Did everybody have to first learn to drive again in empty parking lots with their parents and take a driver's test? And no, you didn't. So you were able to get inside his Cybertruck and take it for a test drive. Aha, I see. And that's because you had a basic understanding of driving and vehicular control. Now it's true, the Cybertruck has, well, some components of it are radically different than an internal combustion engine truck, namely the fact that it doesn't have an internal combustion engine. So it's got probably a myriad of bells and whistles and things that you might have to learn how it works, but nevertheless, you do have a basic understanding of the vehicle and how to operate the vehicle. That's how they're approaching COVID, or hypno-mind-fucking you, the public, into thinking about COVID like it's some sort of a meteorite from on high that crash landed to Earth. You know, a strange meteorite that's glowing. Ooh, you know, and scientists come in hazmated suit and they're studying the strange new element like it's all brand new, you know. No. Coronaviruses have been around since the 50s. Or should I say that we've known of them, have been around since the 50s. They've probably been around for just as long as all the other viruses, for millions of years. So no, it's not something that you would have to leave it to the scientists, and they'll have you thinking that, oh my God, I got to go back to college first and learn everything all over again. No, no, that's just simply how the pro-pandemic corporate media is spinning this whole thing. One of the things I want to talk about, that segment's from ABC News with David Muir. The full segment, when they talk about the young people at the house party, it's traced back to a house party. And of course, once again, you will never hear anything being traced back to protest riots. Nothing. If I'm not mistaken, even at the end of that episode, of ABC News with David Muir, they ended it, because they like to end with feel-good stories. It's the UPS guy, and he's coming, and yeah, he's black, and of course the neighborhood that he services is white, and I'll leave it to you to figure out whether or not that was part of their the corporate media's decision making as to whether or not to feature the story, because they're very anxious to push racial harmony. That's fine. Anyway, I can't get off into that. That's a whole other psychological topic. But the point is that as he comes rolling in with his UPS truck, nobody's wearing a mask. Nobody. Because we're done talking about that, you know. Literally, this segment, it segued, or the entire broadcast, it segued into, oh my God. Actually, I'm about to show you what it segued from. It segued away from talking about masks. And I'm going to show you that in just a brief moment here, into talking about masks. And it just simply segued straight into a community rallying together, shoulder to shoulder, hugging, touching, because it's all a feel-good moment, because that's just another one of those strange gatherings that corporate media have bibbity-bobbity-booed. They have deemed and sanctified that as being non-spreader. So literally in many of these broadcasts, on NBC as well, Lester Holt, I'm watching his broadcast where he will, at the beginning of the broadcast, talk about, oh my God, our nation is exploding and surging in cases and this. They never show you the inside of the hospitals. They never show you overrun beds. They never quote you concrete number counts. Only big, flashy percentages. Look at this, taking my picture now because I'm putting the hand up there. Only big, flashy percentages and we're not seeing the hospitalizations. We never got to see any of this stuff. We never got to see the inside of the morgues or anything like that. Pro-pandemic people will immediately say, oh my God, there's patient confidentiality, there's HIPAA laws. Okay, fine. If you are going to suspend the Constitution, then you can suspend HIPAA laws, okay? Mind you, again, I'm not necessarily asking for names and social security numbers, but yes, if you want me to believe this, just like our scientists who solved Fermat's last theorem, you had better come correct with the proof. Show me. Don't just tell me, show me. I need to see this, okay? And if it is such a national crisis, because that's the whole thing here, you can't claim, you can't cry national crisis and then be suddenly conservative with proof. Oh no. You know, it is, if a woman has been shot in the chest and, oh my God, doctor, you have to save me. Okay, my goodness, we're here, we'll cut your blouse off. Oh no. How dare you, you brute. Privacy. Okay, if you have a GSW, if you have a gunshot wound to your chest, you can't hold national crisis of this epic level and your modesty together. You're going to have to choose, okay? They can't coexist, okay? You dig what I'm saying? So if you know, whomever it is, if you've been shot in the basically any kind of gunshot wound, they're stripping your ass right there. Might even be on the street. And they can't enshrine again, Mahu Fore, your sanctity, modesty. They can't do that if they want to save your life. So why are you enshrining this HIPAA law while you claim to be trying to save our life? We need to see the body count. Do you understand? Okay, and if you're not going to show it, then it means it doesn't exist. Okay, it's just lies. Okay, they talked about the death count. Don't even get me started. God only knows. Comorbid, I think they featured one family. I don't know if they were Hispanic or Mexican or Polynesian, but I'm not being cruel here. I am a 500-pound man myself. Polynesians definitely have, there's a weight crisis in Hawaii. There is a weight crisis there. So yes, basically comorbidities. I came up with a new analogy for our comorbidity and COVID comorbidities. And I'm not even a video game player, but I had a buddy, Seamus, big video gamer. Your horizontal bar of your life force as you're battling, right? So as people accrue their comorbidities, it will take their life force out of the green and closer to the yellow, and if it gets real bad, it'll go from the yellow into the red. So the one punch knockout power of COVID-19, how much one punch power does COVID-19 have? It all depends on your comorbidity life score, okay? Which is why we saw so many nursing home, just COVID went inside the nursing home and boom, one punch knockout and took many to their grave. You can take that argument to our Democratic governors and hold them culpable. Perhaps they should be thrown in jail, right along with our police officers who killed innocent people. As you put COVID positive patients in the nursing homes because you needed your kindling. Your nursing homes was your kindling, your feathering. I'm using a bushcraft analogy now. It was how you started and fanning your flames, okay? to fan your pandemic, to get as many body counts as you possibly can. Over half of these body counts were nursing home people. So when you hear them talk about the hundreds of thousands of people who died, well, just know that it was your senior citizens who received their one-punch knockout, courtesy of your Democratic governors, and maybe even some Republican governors too, because a lot of Republicans have drunk the Kool-Aid and they're on board with it. So our one-punch knockout, that's why some people will get only nuisance symptoms. Life score was in the green. We hear young people, they're banking on the fact that their life score is in the green, and that when they get it, they'll accrue their immunity. I'm guessing that's their logic of the whole thing. Now, because I am a man of logic and science, I am indeed more than willing to entertain the possibility that there are a variety of your COVID-19s that are out there. When you come into contact with it, what are you coming into contact with? If an elderly person drops their cane, you go to pick it up, you've touched that, what are you coming into contact with? Are you coming into contact with one-punch COVID? Or are you coming into contact with a version of it that's only nuisance symptoms or only hospitalization, but you'll survive potency? If it is a one-punch knockout, how long has it been sitting on the handle of our senior citizen's cane? As it sits there waiting for a carrier to come along, it's slowly dying, it's slowly withering. So by the time it finally comes into contact, it might not be much of a one-punch knockout any longer. It might be weakened, which could then open up a whole new argument of, by touching and coming into contact with our weakened COVID, is that like a form of vaccination, inoculation? You came into contact with something that it didn't kill you, it didn't put you in the hospital, it just simply made you sick for a couple of days, and wow, congratulations, you're now inoculated. Maybe yes, maybe no. I can't say that for sure. Again, I am not a virologist. I'm just a man who has been left to speculate, to utilize his own intelligence to speculate, because I can't trust my government. They are going to lie to me about this pandemic. You damn sure can't turn to Fauci. They're all just a bunch of fucking liars at this point. Pfizer, Merck, they've got them all hemmed up tight in their pocket. Johnson & Johnson, all of them, man. AstraZeneca, they own them all, lock, stock, and barrel. So, mask. Let's switch. I know, good Lord, how much time did I just spend there? 23. All right, come on. Let's jump over to our next topic here.
Rages on. The Surgeon General begging everyone to wear one in apparent defiance of President Trump's refusal to wear one himself.
Please, wear a face covering when you go out in public.
An important new study by Florida Atlantic University has found some masks are more effective than others. Wearing bandanas is the least effective. Particles from coughs and sneezes can travel 3 feet. Cone masks are much better, containing droplets within 8 inches. The most effective mask is home-stitched, made from 2 layers of fabric, the kind Deborah makes for her family.
And you can get a really good secure fit.
With a mask like that, droplets travel just 2.5 inches.
The lowest amount of protection is when you're wearing no mask at all. So the key message for folks to take home is that wearing any kind of mask is better than none.
There is growing pressure on the president today to embrace.
Okay, Uh-oh, Total Control. Did they just give your argument of mask a one-punch knockout? No, they did not. Let's see if we can go to full screen and see if I can show you. I tell you, this version of it's just garbage. All right, 8 inches. Wow, Total Control. What happened to your? You know, it kind of makes you wonder how many of these corporate medias are watching my channel. Is it just coincidence that when I put out my episodes that they rush to put out their stuff? Okay, okay. First of all, one of the things that we're going to be looking at here is that notice the fact, so I can get my art doohickey here. Notice the fact that this is close cropped. Our 8 inches with a mask, we're not paying attention to the fact that, see, when we watch our animation, it basically, the exhaust is going to go somewhere and it jets out to the side. You know, the side when you're standing shoulder to shoulder with your protesters. Oh, but that's right, once again, that's something that is mahu forade. That is something that is sanctified as not being a problem. Let's see if we can get a different. Okay, this is our 3 feet. They're talking about different masks. Like this here is a what is this? The bandana, I believe it is. What they're doing here is everything is under perfect lab condition. It's just like when you go to look at new cell phones and buy a new cell phone. You will never ever have connection issues. You can pick up the phone there in the store, play with it, utilize its bells and whistles. Everything works wonderful. Why? Because the phone hasn't been used. It isn't loaded up with all the spyware that drags down the memory and battery usage that's loaded into your phone. So in other words, what I'm talking about, the massive difference between in-store showroom floor fast processing of a brand new phone versus when you get it home and you're away from the store, which has a very powerful signal booster there. So you're not near the signal booster, you're just under real world conditions. None of this is real world. Not. This is not real world condition. This is in a, we got a mannequin that is blowing. We don't know what the force of air that's being blown through that is. So we don't know, are they actually simulating real life respiration, the force. Now it is true. I will admit it is indeed true. When you sneeze or cough, you are definitely atomizing the air, the water vapor. So like a woman's perfume that will discharge, so you are doing that. Guess what? When I'm around people, when I cough or sneeze, I do that. I either do it and the exhaust all goes down inside my shirt, just like your mask. I don't have to have it strapped to my face, and neither do you. In other words, what everybody else has already been doing. Okay? One of the things they also didn't do in this study is, where is our receptor? Let's see how good my art skills are here. You know, where's our recipient? Huh? Did I do that? It has to go to somebody, yeah. So, and of course, inside we would need we would have to have our sensors on the inside of the cavern of the mouth to open up our mannequin's mouth and swab the inside, swab the inside of our mannequin's mouth to see did any of this stuff get inside, meaning if they were wearing a mask only. So this is it's not an actual conducted test. If you recall, hopefully you will have understood what I'm saying here. As they talk about these things, it's all under perfect. Notice how it's all cropped. You never see the back of the mannequin's head, It's all cropped because they don't want you to pay attention to where all this exhaust is going. You see? They want you to think that it's all just simply about the forward trajectory. And it's not. The problem that they have here is that, when George came over from Bob's to put together my table, I knew that I was going to be having people coming over and working. And as yesterday we had thunderstorms, things are very humid, the dew points were spiking, and I didn't want to have the people coming to the home here and end up wringing wet from sweat from in a home that wasn't air conditioned. So, I did the humane thing. I didn't go all Ebenezer Scrooge on them. Bob Cratchit asked to put another lump of coal on the fire. Yeah, I just fired up the central air. It's why, I don't know if you noticed or not, but the central air was on in that episode, as well as one of my ceiling fans in the kitchen. None of that is going on here. High vac, air filtration. This is all taking place in a very tight, controlled lab. There's no ventilation. It's not a real world scenario. This lab has been created to create the optimized results. Okay? Who's paying me to perform this test? Big pharmacy, that's who. Corporate media, that's who, okay? You have to follow the money. Like I said, we see here where, I guess we're not going to pay attention to any of that, huh? Nah, because then we've already remixed that reality that when the particles come down to surfaces, they just simply, let me get rid of this. When the particle comes down to the surface, it just magically disappears. It's not a problem anymore. You don't have to stress over wipes and wiping down your mail and your packages. All of that's not a problem anymore because we know so much better now. Viruses don't live on surfaces anymore. In your world, I guess. So they cherry pick, they pick and choose what's the reality is. I'm more than willing to accept the fact that I might be wrong about my understanding of virulence and mask. I'm willing to entertain that possibility. I just wish you would be willing to conduct an actual real experiment. I don't think you are. Just like you're never going to show us the morgues. You're never going to show us the ICU units floor by floor. Entire wards. If I'm not mistaken, in the full broadcast of that ABC full broadcast, they claimed that they had to open up a third ward. You mean the way they brought in gigantic naval ships, medical naval ships that went to waste? And the way they built those fields, in the north, they built the MASH hospitals. It all went to waste. There's one 7 miles away down there in Atlantic City. I don't even think it's open anymore. It all went to waste. So if you want me to believe that you had to open up 3 additional COVID wards, then show me the wards overflowed. Go floor by floor. No more of your close cropped 10-second footage. The way you have this mannequin's head close cropped. Because you don't want us to see the fact that the exhaust ends up going up into the air with the mask or no mask. The exhaust goes out the side, the top, the down. It goes all in the air. Okay? If you're going to wear a mask, then the mask needs to protect, I don't think the mask is going to prevent the transmission like you think. Okay? It might have some abilities. I don't think it's going to prevent transmission the way that you're hoping it will. If anything, the mask will do more for keeping you from breathing in which is why I say people who believe that they need to wear a face rag, then please do it. Put it on. I don't want to stop you. If you think that what you're breathing in is of detriment to you and that putting this non-medical rag on your face is going to help you, then do it. Hey, I don't care. Live and let live, okay? But don't force me to do it or force other people to do it, okay? How much time have I got here? Because I know I'm getting, let me shut this thing off. Social services, food stamps. Haven't you ever noticed the way nobody ever has to be forced to go and get them? Okay? When people know something is good for them, they're going to go and get it. You don't have to force people to wear a face rag. We already know what's good for us. We can make our own medical decisions. Let everybody make their own medical decisions. Did I miss anything? I talked about our UPS guy, how he was celebrated, no social distancing. Oh yeah, real fast, the Cooper woman, New York, the Ramble, Birdwatcher. I couldn't help but notice that prior to her making the 911 call, and where she gets on the phone and she feigns distress. However, I did notice something though. Prior to getting on the phone, she was a little breathless there. She was when she was talking and shouting at the man, she was pulling pulling down her mask. She was having difficulty catching her breath. Now, I'm not going to sit here and make an excuse for this woman, but it's just a possibility that I like to tack onto the bulletin board of my mind as I keep track of certain things. Was this woman oxygen deprived? Had she breathed too much of her own carbon dioxide? Did that toxic gas cause her to act out of character, to feel certain ways? Carbon dioxide, it'll fuck your mind up, So, just a possibility. I'm not saying that's the case. Just something to think about. Wearing these masks like this, it was never meant to be. People will then pull out photos, the black and white photos of the 1917 Spanish flu. Well, that's fine, but guess what else is in those black and white photos? Huge fields of people in MASH hospitals, okay? They showed us the proof. Mexico, they tried to run with that footage, salacious footage. Ooh, look at the graves that are dug. Dug graves, not filled in graves. They were dug. Give me continuing footage of the bodies that you're claiming. They were claiming 1,000 a day. Give me the footage. Set up a webcam. You do it for fucking eagles nesting, where people can just simply log on and look at the bodies being buried all day long. Show us. You can't. Can you? No. Okay? Good Lord. You would think that, especially with Mexico, the drug cartels, not even the drug cartels could fill that many graves in a single day.